Lautech, you've kept the promise. Now we're singing. You led me on as the race was made, there to be champions. We are winning.
On the beat.
As we've come this far,
my visitor. How are you?
This lovely Lautech, you've kept the promise. Now we're singing, all dressed in splendor, as you promise again is kept. Oh, dear sweet rainbow, I got my feelings made so timeless. One race for zenith, we together began one day. You led me on as we've come this far. We fixed our shoulders and determined just to win. You led me on.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please let us rise.
As the race was
Let us rise for the procession.
there to be champions. We are winning.
Please, let's have our seat. Oh, let's still remain standing while we take the national anthem.
The national anthem.
Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey, to serve the fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Or your state anthem.
Aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá. Ipò aṣíwájú l'Ẹlẹ́dùmarè fún wa nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe gírí, ọmọ Ọ̀yọ́ ká tẹpá wa mọ́ṣẹ́. Ká bára wa sọ̀rọ̀, ká sòdodo, ká ṣohun tó tọ́ tó dára nígbà gbogbo, níbi gbogbo. Ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ onírẹ̀yìn ọ́ lójú mi, onírẹ̀yìn ọ́ nígbà tèmi, onírẹ̀yìn ọ́ èmi aṣọ tó tọ́ tó dára nígbà gbogbo, níbi gbogbo fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá.
Lautech anthem.
Lautech anthem.
Your promotion of applied sciences, the silver spectrum, and the living on the race of progress. Students of Anthem are the leaders today we manifest. Grace not committed to the training of the total blessings. Grace mountain, grace one of us, always stand for excellence. Grace mountain, grace one of us, integrity and service. Integrity and service. Integrity and service.
Please, let's be seated. Please, let's put our phones on silence mode. I will get them switched off. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you are officially welcome to the 48th inaugural lecture of this very great university, titled Agricultural Production Without Mechanization, Mission Impossible, to be delivered by Professor Adewunmi Taiwo. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite the Registrar of the University, Dr. Kayode Akindele Ogunleye, to the podium to invite the VC.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure, honor and privilege to invite the Acting Vice Chancellor Professor Emo Liasu to read a citation of the inaugural lecturer, Professor Adewunmi Taiwo, and declare the 48th inaugural lecture open. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you, Registrar. I hereby read the citation of Professor Adewunmi Taiwo, BSc, California, MSc, Ibadan, PhD, Ilorin, MNSc, MNAE, MG, HIE, MASABE, R Engineering. Adewunmi Taiwo is a professor of farm power and machinery in the Department of Agricultural Engineering of Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Lautech, Ogbomoso. He was born a little less than 7 decades ago into the family of late Pa Dr. Adekunle Taiwo and Mrs. Olufunke Taiwo. He had his primary school education at St. Philip's Primary School, Fashola, located across Oyo-Isheyin Road, from where he gained admission into the famous Olivet Baptist High School, Oyo, for his secondary school education. At the end of his secondary school education, our erudite scholar of today proceeded to the California State Polytechnic University, Cal Poly, Pomona, California, in the United States of America, from where he obtained his first degree in agricultural engineering in 1980. His outstanding performance made his department to nominate him as one of the resource persons during the annual training program held on campus for members of the Future Farmers of America, FFA. He obtained his Master of Science degree, MSc, in agricultural engineering, after which he worked as a mechanical engineer stroke small tools specialist in a UNDP-funded FAO implemented rice-based inland valley swarm development project located in Muyamba, Sierra Leone between 1988 and 1991. His early exposure to agricultural activities and opportunities to work in a cattle ranch, poultry farm, and piggery, and interaction with seasoned professionals such as late Pa Engineer Oshobu, who was the first agricultural engineer in Nigeria. The young Adewunmi developed interest and strong affinity for agricultural engineering at that tender age, during which he had become familiar with agricultural engineering, as well as the interrelationship between them. He is a registered member of COREN and a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSC, Ghana Institution of Engineers, GHIE, and he was also the first Nigerian to be recruited to work as a United Nations volunteer, UNV, in the Republic of Sierra Leone. Professor Taiwo was successfully supervised and co-supervised He has successfully supervised and co-supervised several undergraduates and postgraduate students. Supervision of 2 PhD research works are still ongoing. He has, to his credit, 71 published articles in reputable local and international journals with high impact factors and in form of books, chapters in books, technical reports, and articles in conference proceedings. I hereby present Professor Adewunmi Taiwo, Professor of Farm Power and Machinery. I want to declare this inaugural lecture open. Thank you.
Thank you. A very good morning to all of you. Good afternoon, that one is. By way of introduction, courtesies. The Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor M.O. Liasu, the Registrar, Dr. K.A. Ogunleye, members of the Governing Council, other principal officers of the university, Chairman Committee of Provosts and Deans, Provost College of Health Sciences, Deans of Faculties, Deans of Postgraduate School and Student Affairs, professors and other members of Senate, heads of departments, my fellow erudite colleagues, especially in the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, the congregation and other staff, my lords temporal and spiritual, my dear friends and hosts, Senator Ayo Adeseun, my family, friends and well-wishers, both within and in diaspora, gentlemen of both the print and the electronic media, greatest Ladokite. It is with utmost gratitude to the Almighty and everlasting God, my Creator, and with sincere appreciation to the university administration for the privilege granted me to stand before you this day to deliver the 48th inaugural lecture of this great citadel of learning. This is the this is the 10th inaugural lecture from the Faculty of Engineering and Technology and the 3rd from the Department of Agricultural Engineering. I want to crave your indulgence to go ahead and start right away. The selection of the topic of this lecture is based on my strong belief that the development of the full potential of Nigerian soil and by extension agriculture cannot be achieved by human muscles alone. Some degree of mechanization will always be essential if we are to attain agricultural transformation in Nigeria. I have been involved in the private and public aspects of agriculture, trying to solve some of the problems relating to mechanization since I returned from USA after 40 years ago. It's been a challenge, my experiences together for presentation in a lecture for about an hour, but I will try. I, however, boldly stand in front of this highly dignified audience to present an abridged form of my long story. I will attempt to highlight some of the major problems militating against agricultural production in Nigeria. Then present possible mechanization solutions so that economic growth can be achieved and poverty reduced to the barest minimum in Nigeria and indeed West Africa. Commencement of active research, a big bang. My academic research journey started with my PhD in the Department of Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering of the University of Ilorin. The title of my thesis is Study of some operating parameters of a high-pressure agroforestry swan nozzle, evolved from my earlier devastating career experience. In 1996, my commercial mechanized farm at Isayin local government of Oyo State was invaded and destroyed by a herd of about 2,000 cows, just at the time it was ready for harvest. It occurred to me at that time that the destruction would not have been that devastating if I had also planted tree crops to act as shock absorbers. Planted a tree cash crop, my loss would have been worse if pests infected any part of the tree. So the loss would have been more colossal, especially if the crop was meant for export. I was therefore forced to abandon this laudable project, and I started an academic career at Lautech, where I decided to work on a high-pressure agroforestry swan nozzle to aid pests in tall trees with wide canopy, typical of African tree crops. You see, God moves in mysterious ways. That is the beginning of my long story. A new beginning. I had worked in different capacities before then, e.g. as mechanical engineer stroke small tool specialist at FAO UNDP Inland Valley Swine Development Project in Sierra Leone. Although I had a research orientation and was copiously documenting my findings on the job, I did not plan to undertake a PhD program. My father did so at 56. So once at Lautech, the reality dawned on me, though I was respected as one of the only 2 lecturers then who had the enviable current registration. I was therefore appointed as the HOD when a vacancy opened. My research trust, scope of my research trust. My research trust and modest contribution as reflected in my publications span the entire agricultural value chain in the following areas: crop protection, equipment development and evaluation; 2, agricultural land clearing and land development; 3, mechanization case studies; 4, environmental protection; 5, soil tillage; 6, crop processing; and 7, rural transportation. But before I proceed, I will do an overview of agriculture in Nigeria and the level of mechanization. What is the composition of the Nigerian agriculture sector? The agricultural sector consists of crops, livestock, fisheries, and forestry, all of them experiencing slow growth in productivity over the years. Crop is the subsector that had a major contribution to the agricultural sector, with livestock following closely. Fishery and forestry subsectors have very low average growth rates. Muhammad Lawal and Ate, 2006. The forest ecosystem is being threatened by the rapid growth in population and economic activities, such as animal grazing. Annual deforestation rate ranges between 0.72 and 2.38%, according to FAO 2018. Constraints to Nigerian agricultural development. The constraints also include low mechanization of agricultural value chains, cumbersome land tenure system, low level of irrigation farming, climate change and land degradation, high production costs and poor access to inputs and finance, high rate of post-harvest losses and poor access to markets. Large-scale agricultural production is not common as many farmers lack the resources to acquire agricultural machinery like tractors and plows. Government's investment in the provision of subsidized mechanization programs is not yielding end food and agriculture organization, FAO. Agricultural mechanization generally is the application of inputs such as tools, implements, and powered machinery to achieve agricultural production. It includes
in year 2010, a total of over 3 million hectares of land was expected to be put under cultivation in Nigeria, with a tractor population of about 40,000 and a tractorization density of 0.04 horsepower per acre or 0.0746 kilowatt per hectare until 2011. The tractorization density of the country fell far short of the recommended 0.6 horsepower per acre or 1.12 kilowatt per hectare by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, Statistics 2012. The aim is the need to put more power into Nigeria's agriculture in terms of both general and engineering infrastructure. The general infrastructure includes electricity, communication facilities, roads and other facilities as well as irrigation and water pumping facilities. The engineering infrastructure aspects are those engineering skills, workshops and machines required for production of capital goods, and Babatunde 2012. Nigeria therefore needs to drastically increase the number of farmers who use mechanical power-based mechanization in their poverty and livelihood can also improve. Reduce the drudgery associated with agricultural production. Reduce post-harvest losses that occur across different agricultural value chains. Increase the prospects for value addition. In the area of food processing, a number of machines have been developed by research and development centers in Nigeria for the production of foodstuffs such as gari, cassava flour, and vegetable oil, but they are lying in situ. Omonona and Babatunde 2012, Olaoye and Rotimi 2010. They have not been extended to rural farmers and processors, Lamidi and Akunde 2013. Hence, post-harvest handling is still very rudimentary and inefficient. According to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, FARD, about 20% of fish, 20 to 30% of total grain production, 50 to 60% of root and DFID, the 2016 to 120,000 tractors and related to entrepreneurial service center. Flowers assisted sprayers for tall tree trucks with wide crowns. This marked the starting point of my research work in crop protection equipment development. Application of liquid chemical pesticides to treat crops and other components of agroforestry use. The relatively ineffective and antiquated nasal sprayers So this type of sprayer is seriously limited as
that work is a case study of maize producing farmers in Ejura, Sekiet, Maseki, Ashanti region of Ghana. This study reveals the community in Ejura, Sekiet, Maseki district of the Ashanti region. The identified available machinery, equipment and implements and tools were categorized into traditional hand tools, improved hand tools, drought animal powered implements and mechanical motorized equipment, while their level of utilization were measured and expressed in percentages. It was revealed from the study, from the results of the data collected and analyzed, that there were too many missing links in the mechanization. Challenges in production policy was also proposed. My fifth contribution to knowledge: environmental protection case studies. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, public on the dangers inherent in prolonged stay in or near air laden with exhaust fumes from engines of agricultural tractors operating within Ogbomoso metropolis was used as a case study. The objectives were to establish whether or not the engine capacities, makes and models of the sample tractors had significant effect on the carbon monoxide content of the exhaust emissions from their diesel engines. It was concluded from the results that carbon monoxide content of the exhaust emissions of agricultural tractors are approximately 49 times higher than the recommended maximum level of 0.5% volume of carbon monoxide on volume-to-volume basis by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and World Health Organization, WHO, 2008. Fiat 70/666 contributed the largest content of 2.9% volume of carbon monoxide, volume-to-volume basis, while Massey Ferguson MF375 contributed the least amount of 1.7% volume of carbon monoxide on volume-to-volume basis measurement. Only the engine capacity had significant effect on the carbon monoxide content of the exhaust emissions of the agricultural tractors. Monoxide content of their exhaust emissions. Sixth contribution to knowledge. That is on soil tillage. Taiwo 2015, Taiwo and Owusu Sekre 2015, Taiwo and Jeka Yifa 2018 carried out the following studies on soil tillage. Fuel consumption pattern of some selected tillage systems on the Atabazi soil series of Ghana. Slippage study of a two-wheel drive tractor during tillage operations on different soil surface conditions of the Atabazi during secondary tillage operation in Ulti soil series of Nigeria. It was concluded with the use of mounted two-bottom disc plow made the tractor to consume more fuel than when a mounted three-bottom disc plow was used when the soil moisture content was 1.67% on wet basis. The main fuel consumption for the use of two and three-bottom disc plows for the first plow operation in the soil series were 21.0 and 13.13 liters per hectare respectively. Slippage study of a two-wheel drive tractor during tillage operations on different soil surface conditions of the Atabazi soil series of Ghana. The objective of this study was to determine the wheel slippage of a two-wheel drive tractor during primary tillage operation on the Atabazi soil series when the tractor was mounted with a 2-bottom and 3-bottom disc plow. Determine the wheel slippage of the tractor during harrowing operation when mounted with a tandem disc harrow. It was concluded from the results that the wheel slippage of the tractor for first and second plowing operations when mounted with a 2-bottom disc plow were 10.31 and 12.13% respectively. Use of 2-bottom disc plow resulted in higher wheel slippage for primary tillage and subsequent secondary tillage operations. Single axle tractors, another study carried out was performance evaluation of single axle tractors during secondary tillage operation in Ultisoil soil series of Nigeria. Single axle tractors under GX120 and Yamaha GE50 with rated engine power of 2.9 kilowatts or 4.0 horsepower and 5.2 kilowatts or 7.0 horsepower respectively were tested on a field which had undergone primary tillage operation during the previous 2 weeks. The field had developed various levels of vegetative regrowth by the time the secondary tillage operation was carried out. The category 1 tractor was tested in 4 out of the 8 plots in each of the 3 levels of weed infestation, while category 2 tractor was tested on the remaining 4 plots. From the ANOVA results, it was concluded that the levels of weed infestation and rated engine power significantly affect fuel consumption. Average fuel consumption increased with increase in rated engine power and level of weed infestation. With the exception of fields with low level of weed infestation, that is ranging from 830 to 1450 kilograms per hectare, lubricant consumption was significantly affected by both the rated engine power and level of weed infestation. Effective fuel capacity was not significantly affected by either the rated engine power nor level of weed infestation, although there is significant interaction between them. These results imply that single axle tractors will not perform at their best during secondary tillage operation when the level of weed infestation in the field is very high. The use of single axle tractors with small rated engine power should be confined to small fields, while those with high rated engine power should be used on large fields in order to achieve best. Mr. Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, crop processing is a very important unit operation in agricultural value chain. My research activities in the area of crop processing are cassava utilization without waste, performance evaluation of a continuous flow rotary cassava peeler, evaluation of some power sources and performance parameters of a continuous flow rotary cassava chipper, evaluation of a cabinet dryer developed for cassava chips, introduction of smokeless stove to Gari producers at Korea in the Yilokrobo municipality. On cassava, talking about performance evaluation of a continuous flow rotary cassava peeler, the machine peeling efficiency, throughput capacity, flesh loss, labor cost, fuel consumption rate, and fuel cost for a continuous flow rotary cassava peeler when powered by a 3.73 kilowatts or 5 horsepower electric motor, a 2.24 kilowatt or 3 horsepower petrol engine, as well as manual labor were compared. Peeling fresh cassava root tubers with a machine when powered by electric motor had the largest throughput capacity, and it was over 200 times better than manual labor. Power source evaluation of some power sources and performance parameters of a continuous flow rotary cassava chipper. That's another study carried out. So in another study by Taiwo and Taiwo 2013, and by the way, I do carry out research together with my wife, because she works also in a research institute. That is Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research. So we carry this research together. So in another study carried out by Taiwo and Taiwo 2013, the differences in key performance parameters and total cost of using a Nigerian-built continuous flow rotary cassava chipper to chip fresh, peeled and unpeeled cassava root tubers when powered by diesel engine and when powered by an electric motor were investigated. The machine was found to be most efficient and cost-effective when powered by an electric motor and used to chip fresh, unpeeled cassava tubers. This was when it exhibited the highest chipping efficiency of 86.86% and the least total cost of US $4.35 per ton, as opposed to the lowest efficiency of 85.17% and highest total cost of US $9.65 per ton when powered by a diesel engine used to chip fresh peeled cassava tubers. With these results, chipping fresh unpeeled cassava tubers with the machine when powered by an electric motor costs almost 50% of what it costs to chip peeled cassava tubers when powered by a diesel engine. The study has clearly shown that the campaign to ensure regular supply of electricity in Nigerian rural communities, where most of the nation's resource-poor cassava processors, who constitute majority of the nation's cassava growers and processors, are based, must be identified if Nigeria is to be an active participant in the highly competitive but profitable world cassava market. Contribution 7, that one is on transportation. Again, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. This section of my work is devoted to an appraisal of road condition effect on rural transportation in Sekre Central District of the Ashanti region of Ghana. The objective of this study was to assess the condition of the road network within the district with a view to find out if and how they affect the transportation costs. The results indicated that the road conditions had high significant effects on the transportation costs of both human and agricultural produce. The road network of the district consists of 21 roads with a total length of 176.6 kilometers, out of which 8 were classified as poor, 7 as fair, and only 6 as good. The highest agricultural produce transportation cost of 1.46 Ghana cedis per ton kilometer was obtained from 3 of the poor roads, while the lowest cost of 0.86 Ghana cedis per ton kilometer was obtained from only 1 of the 6 good roads. The highest passenger transportation cost of 0.3 Ghana cedis per passenger kilometer was obtained for 1 out of the 8 poor roads, while the lowest of 0.1 Ghana cedis per passenger kilometer was obtained for all the 6 good roads and 4 of the fair roads. It was concluded in the study that transportation cost of passengers on the poor and fair roads was 2 to 3 times as high as the cost of transportation on the good roads. Transportation cost of agricultural produce on the poor roads was 70% higher than it was on the good roads. Conclusion and recommendations. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, as I round off this presentation on the impossibility of achieving success in agricultural production without mechanization, I would like to draw the following conclusions based on my research findings. Conclusion: all the produce we are presently harvesting from our tree crops are not the optimum we can obtain, because those located on the top part of the trees are at the mercy of insect pests and other disease pathogens, because the apparatus we currently use do not have the capacity to apply pesticides at these heights. It could, in fact, be stated that it is the leftover from the pests and disease pathogens that we are harvesting. The trees can also not produce at their best because the growth promotants, such as pheromones, surfactants, cannot be applied at these levels with the manual knapsack sprayers we are currently using. The only solution is the use of air blast assisted tree cross sprayers, which can also be used to protect the investment of our farmers by way of spraying fire retardant chemicals all over the trees without leaving any part unprotected. It is not enough to massively increase the level of agricultural production in a country without comparable increase in the manufacturing sector. This is because a country with huge agricultural production level is also a huge market for imported agricultural machineries. The foreign exchange earnings from the agricultural produce will only end up in the pockets of farm machinery manufacturers in other countries if we do not develop our local manufacturing capacities to such a level that we can produce our requisite machines and implements locally. Failure to do this will make us an effective job creator for countries that manufacture agricultural equipment despite the fact that our level of agricultural production is high. The best scenario that can be created under that situation is for us to be able to feed our population and export raw farm produce. In terms of holistic economic development of our country, we will still be a net importer, a situation which will make our balance of payment to be negative. It is not only abundant supply of fertilizers and other inputs such as good seeds that can make the average yield of our farmers to be high. High power input also contributes immensely to the achievement of high crop yields. This has been effectively demonstrated in this lecture that agricultural production system is like a chain which is as weak as the weakest link. All the inputs required for an agricultural production system, which could be likened to a chain, are the links. If only one of them, say mechanization, is weak, the entire production system will fail, even if the other links such as fertilizer, good seeds, and so on are adequately supplied. Agricultural land clearing and land preparation should not be limited to the removal of woody vegetation followed by tillage operations alone. The farm site must be properly protected from possible flooding by runoff from neighboring catchment areas by incorporating peripheral canals in the right size to convey this runoff away from the farm site to the nearest river or streams without damaging the farm. In addition, the farm sites must be properly bonded before commencement of crop planting. All this require a lot of mechanization input because of the power requirement. Recommendations for agricultural production that will guarantee adequate food security for Nigeria's teeming population and provide fiber for our industries, not to be a mission impossible. The following are my recommendations. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. Firstly, LAUTECH can pioneer further research in agricultural mechanization that suits our environment better and respond to new challenges such as climate change. Number two, this spans the use of tools, implements, and machines for a wide range of farm operations such as land clearing, land preparation, for example, minimum or zero tillage that can reduce traffic of heavy machinery on the soil. Crop planting, weeding, crop protection, harvesting, on-farm processing, as well as storage and transportation. Such researches must include multidisciplinary teams of researchers and practitioners in order to incorporate the perspectives of all stakeholders, including local farmers. This is bound to motivate researchers to generate more relevant data that will form the basis for technology adoption in the entire agricultural value chain. In this regard, imported machines could be acquired initially and modified to suit our environment and the fabricated prototypes could be patented and commercialized. More funds should be made available for research in this field, and collaboration with renowned researchers in the field in the developed nations of the world should be encouraged. Universities should provide support for researchers to enable them disseminate their research findings to their immediate communities to further strengthen the much talked about town and gown relationships. Several innovative researches that could promote the aforelisted research efforts in this lecture should be promoted instead of allowing them to gather dust on the shelves. In essence, industry-academic linkage should be strengthened. Local industries need to take up the role of commercializing research findings so that society can effectively benefit from the research efforts. Awareness creation through the organization of intra and inter-university competition among students and other stakeholders also becomes imperative. This can even metamorphose into regional and global competition among students and other stakeholders. Field demonstrations and student enterprise projects that will demonstrate the use of developed technologies among beneficiary farmers should also be given urgent priority. This will create awareness that will in turn encourage informed adoption of developed equipment and technology. Competition among top-performing farmers, processors, and marketers should be encouraged with attractive incentives from government and non-governmental organizations and private sector to help promote utilization of these indigenously developed technologies along the country's agricultural value chain. I thank you very much for your rapt attention. Now I go to acknowledgement. It's time for acknowledgement. I believe that naturally a human being is insignificant and almost completely helpless without the contribution and support of numerous other human beings. There's nobody sitting here that can boldly beat his or her chest and say, since I was born, nobody ever helped me. So it is to this end, my depth of gratitude is so huge, to such an extent that the whole of my being is saying a big thank you to all those who contributed in one way or another to making me the person I am today. Foremost of all, this is my Creator, my Heavenly Father, Redeemer, and friend, the God who is also the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, Lord of might, who out of his mercies and love took me out of the pathway of by and by, washed me, decorated me, a poor wretched sinner, and crowned me with honor and glory. I owe all my existence to him, for without him, life would have been hopeless for me. With a heart full of gratitude to him who is, who was, and who shall be forever, I say a big thank you. Words are not sufficient to express my sincere appreciation to my parents who took excellent care of me and sacrificed everything they had to give me quality education. My late father, Dr. Adewunmi Taiwo, worked so hard that he voluntarily retired from a civil service job to start his own commercial farming operations to ensure that my siblings and I had university education. My mother, Mrs. Olufunke Sonate Taiwo Ni Ajose, a rare gem and loving mother who supported our father through thick and thin for us to be somebody in life, is deeply appreciated. May the good Lord continue to grant her perfect health to enjoy the remaining years of her life. My siblings, Mr. Stephen Adedeji Taiwo, who retired as the Deputy Director of Nigerian Animal Genetic Resources, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Abuja. Mrs. Adetokunbo Oluyomi Oladende, a pharmacist, and Mrs. Aduragba Olutosi Adekunjo, an electronic engineer, are highly appreciated in their various roles they have all played, ranging from moral to emotional, financial, and spiritual supports, which have contributed to making me who I am today. You are all simply very wonderful. I appreciate all their spouses, Mrs. Jola Ade Taiwo, Mr. Afolabi Oladende, and Reverend Dr. Gbade Adekunjo for providing strong support to our large family. My immense appreciation goes to my maternal uncle, Engineer S.O. Ajose, former Chief Engineer, National Electricity Supply Company, NESCO, Jos, Plateau State, and former Chairman, Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSC, Jos Branch, who signed my guarantor form that enabled me to be registered by the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, way back in 1990. The notable contributions of Mr. Akinwumi Olushola Williams, Mr. Olushola Ajose, Mrs. S.O. Sani, Dr. John Idowu Taiwo, Engineer Olu Wole Taiwo, and their spouses, as well as other cousins, too numerous to mention, are well appreciated. To all my in-laws who have heartily welcomed me into their family without any form of discrimination, I say thank you. To my late parent-in-law, Reverend Dr. and Mrs. E.A. Adegbola, àwọn abiyamọ tòótọ́, I owe both of you a lot of gratitude for playing the roles of mother, father, confidant, advisor, friend, and prayer partner to me during your lifetime. You will both be forever in my memory. Adieu, Ìyá àti Bàbá Onínúure. Special thanks goes to Engineer Dr. Tunde Adegbola, who I fondly call my professional colleague, for taking me through series of lessons in C++ program during the early days of my PhD research work, and Messrs. Benro and Aki Adegbola for their love. To my teachers at both primary and secondary schools who have set the building block, I say a big thank you. I'm sincerely grateful to all my classmates, especially the 1970 and 71 sets of the prestigious Oliver Baptist High School, Oyo. At this juncture, I want to specially recognize and heartily appreciate the people God used to introduce me to agricultural engineering discipline. In person of Mr. Norman Sletland, who supervised my final year project at the California State Polytechnic University, Pomona. To my lecturers at the postgraduate level at the University of Ibadan, especially Emeritus Professors F.O. Abuaba, E.B. Lucas, J.C. Igbeka, and my friend Professor Kola Okedengbe, I am highly indebted. I want to express my unreserved appreciation to a very special friend, Senator Ayo Adeseun, who has proved to be a friend indeed since our days at Cal Poly Pomona. His late mother hosted me like her own son when I arrived in Ogbomoso, and I had nowhere to stay. His wife is also well appreciated. To all other friends such as Achite Folahan Olumide, Mr. Sunday Olofitila, and others too numerous to mention, I am sincerely grateful. I appreciate NSC Ogbomoso branch for deeming it fit to elect me as the pioneer technical secretary of the branch way back in 2015. The branch has always been a source of inspiration to me. My appointment at Lautech Ogbomoso wouldn't have been possible if not for the role played by Dr. Iyabo Basia and Professor J.O. Ojediran. When my curriculum vitae were handed over to Professor Ojediran by Dr. Iyabo Basia, he immediately developed interest in me because of his belief that I was capable. Through his insistence and recommendations, I was offered a job as a lecturer 1 in the Department of Mechanical Engineering in 1998. He, Professor Ojediran, prepared me into several activities, including immediate registration for my PhD degree program, which later paid off in my career. I equally appreciate the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology Ogbomoso for providing me with the enabling environment for my research activities. I will always cherish the past and present staff of the Department of Agricultural Engineering, as well as those of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, LAUTECH Ogbomoso. Worthy of mention is Engineer Ademola Owo and Mr. J.O. Ipadiola for their technical support. The contact I had with Professor Kayode Oje through the demise of my former supervisor, late Professor O. Babatunde, strengthened my belief in God as the one that makes impossible things possible. Just as I was pondering on how to get another supervisor capable of supervising in the area of my research work, Professor Oje, who was then the HOD in the Department of Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering, University of Ilorin, suddenly came out with an offer to take up my supervision. This contact gave me the opportunity to complete my doctorate degree program within a reasonable time despite the initial setback. Suffice to say that Professors Kayode Oje, J.O. Olaoye, Ejeji, and Alonge have been monitoring my progress ever since I completed my PhD program from the University of Ilorin. To all the present and past staff and students of the department, I say you are highly appreciated. I want to express my gratitude to the following bodies of organization for the opportunities offered me to work in an international project: UNDP, and FAO, 1998 to 1991. The UNDP offered me an opportunity as a UNV mechanical engineer stroke specialist and posted me to a project being implemented by FAO in Sierra Leone. FAO in turn posted me to Muyamba, in Muyamba district of Sierra Leone, where the project was being implemented. It was in this project that data collection for my research project began. The remarkable contribution of Professor K.A. Adebiyi, the immediate past dean, FET, and current provost of the Polytechnic Ibadan, to my progress cannot be glossed over. We had been together since 1998 when I was in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, and he has ever been interested in my progress. Professor John Olajide, I.A. Adeyemi, immediate past Vice Chancellor of Bells University of Technology, Otaogun. Olakunle Ojoawo, immediate past Acting Dean FET. Oladipupo Ogunleye, Samuel Onawumi, former Chairman NSC Ogbomoso Branch. Fumi Adelowo and O.M. Oni are simply wonderful people God has made our paths to cross for timely assistance. The Asabe American Society of Agricultural and Biological Engineers family is a wonderful one, which I passionately admire. I will ever be grateful for the assistance received during my literature review for my PhD research. It was the technical library of the organization that provided more than 90% of the materials used for my research between 2004 and 2009. I had access to some of them as soon as published. I therefore express my appreciation to the president and members of the society. This inaugural lecture would not have been possible if not for the understanding and drive of the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Professor S.O. Jakaifa, who was able to set all administrative machinery in motion for this lecture. Professor Justice Emoyibo Fari is highly appreciated for the role he played in guiding me on how to go about the whole process in his capacity as the chairman inaugural lecture committee. My undergraduate and postgraduate students whose works form the backbone of this lecture, I cannot thank you enough. All of you have given me academic satisfaction. How I wish all of them were in the same area of specialization as mine, farm power and machinery. The story of my academic life cannot be complete without the University of Cape Coast, Ghana, where I worked with men and women of honor and integrity in a disciplined environment. I appreciate all of you, especially Professor J.D. Owusu Sekre, my HOD, who is now the Vice Chancellor of Cape Coast Technical University, by dint of hard work. God sparing our lives, we shall all meet again before we return to our Creator. Sincerely, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the Vice Chancellor of Igbinedion University, Okada, Edo State, Professor L.I. Ezemoye, for granting me the opportunity to assist in establishing agricultural engineering department in the university, which is the first private university in Nigeria. This is in tandem with the opportunity provided to assist in resuscitating the oil palm plantation project of the university. I cannot think of a woman to have other than someone who has been divinely placed to make up for my inadequacies and areas of weaknesses. Olushade Ajeni has combined the virtues of a Deborah, Esther, and a Dorcas. She is indeed the bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. The Lord will grant her the grace to enjoy the fruits of her labor. My biological children, Taiwo, Adedolapo, Kende Adedamola, and Adetong Oludara, and her spouse, Hari, have all been sources of my joy and appreciation to God for the lovely, wonderful children God has made them for me, for us. To the entire Laughter community, I wish to place on record my admiration and appreciation for the love and respect always accorded me. Finally, I wish to thank the Vice Chancellor, Professor Majid Liasu, for the opportunity given me not only to deliver this inaugural lecture, but also for encouraging and propelling me in getting the manuscript prepared through the instrumentality of the inaugural lecture committee. Furthermore, as a member of one of the committee that prepared the working curriculum at the establishment of the Department of Agricultural Engineering or the Faculty of Engineering and Technology of this great university in August 2001, and as one of the foundation lecturers at its takeoff in September 2004 as a full-fledged department, and having played prominent roles in the growth and development of the department and this institution, we had our goals, aspirations, and dreams in line with the vision of the founding fathers. I want to seize this opportunity given me at this forum to formally appreciate the Vice Chancellor for the new lease of life and directional leadership in its noticeable strive to build a true academic community in line with the dreams and wishes of the founding fathers and previous academic pilgrims. Please have it kept at the back of your mind that we are not yet there. It is therefore my hope and prayer that the gathered momentum will be sustained. This is the end of my story. I thank you all for coming and for your rapt attention. May the good Lord grant you journey mercies as you return to your various destinations. Thank you.
The Chairman, Committee of Provost and Deans will receive the text on behalf of the Vice Chancellor. While still standing, can we have the anthems in reverse order? Starting with Lautech.
Lautech Anthem.
Your promotion of applied sciences, all see the spectrum and the beginning of the race of progress. Students of Lautech are the leaders today we manifest. To the training of the total persons. Great mountain, great God of us, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá. Ipò aṣíwájú l'Ẹlẹ́dùmarè fún wa nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe gírí, ọmọ Ọ̀yọ́ ká tẹpá wa mọ́ṣẹ́, ká bára wa sọ̀rọ̀, ká sòdodo, ká ṣohun tó tọ́ tó dára nígbà gbogbo, níbi gbogbo fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Kò ní rẹ̀yìn o lójú mi, kò ní rẹ̀yìn o, kò ní rẹ̀yìn o nígbà tèmi, kò ní rẹ̀yìn o. Èmi aṣohun tó tọ́ tó dára nígbà gbogbo, níbi gbogbo fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá. Aṣíwájú ni wá.
The national anthem.
Arise, O compatriots, Nigerians all obey, to serve the fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
On this note,
Lautech.
we draw the curtain on the 48th inaugural lecture of this great citadel of learning, titled Agricultural Production Without Mechanization Mission Impossible. I hereby, on behalf of the acting Vice Chancellor of this university, declare the inaugural lecture closed.
Please, let's wait for members of the high table to take their leave first. Members of the high table will take their leave first, then we can all follow.
This lovely Lautech, you've kept the promise. Now we're singing, all dressed in splendor, as your promise again is kept. Oh, dear sweet rainbow, allure my feelings, make so timeless. One race for zenith, we together began one day. You led me on as we've come this far. We fixed our shoulders and determined just to win. You led me on as the race was made, there to be champion.